Hey guys, welcome back. I've done all the reviewing that I want to do for now for Halo Infinite's campaign, which means it's time to talk about the multiplayer. The multiplayer now has been out for over a month. It completely just got shadow dropped on November 15th on Halo's 20th anniversary, so we've had quite a lot of time to play it and to have our thoughts on it mull over in our head, so that means it's time to talk about it. Now, I am going to warn you guys, I've been incredibly positive and just so excited and hyped about campaign. This video is not going to be quite the same. There are things that I love about this multiplayer, but I'm going to be honest, this review is going to be quite a bit harsher than all my campaign ones. I'm sure you guys can understand why, and I'm sure most of you probably agree with me, to be honest with you, so let's waste no time and jump in. Oh, and this video is sponsored by NordVPN, by the way, but more about that later on in the video. So, as per usual, we're going to start with the good stuff, because this multiplayer does have a lot of great stuff to offer. Okay, so one of the best things about this game's multiplayer for me is that I really feel like it provides a great experience for both nostalgic fans of the classic games, while also having enough kind of modern flavour in it to entice in new fans, or fans of previous games like Halo 5, for example. What they've managed to do with the gameplay in this game, the way that they've actually managed to strike a surprisingly good middle ground between classic Halo and between modern gameplay mechanics, is nothing short of incredible. They have ended the sprint debate. That alone, the fact that 343 have managed to end a debate that I genuinely thought was going to be eternal, deserves just a round of applause on its own. That alone is such a fantastic achievement. But then you've got everything else as well. The fact that clamber is present for those who need it, but most of the jumps in the game can still be crouch jumped. The fact that aiming down sights just doesn't really do anything anymore besides provide like a genuine visual boost. It doesn't provide an increase in red reticle range or an increase in bullet magnetism. It's just a purely cosmetic thing. They've really managed to strike a fantastic middle ground with the gameplay, and again, it's something that I genuinely thought couldn't exist, but I'm happy to have been proven wrong. And to complement this, I really do like Infinite's map offering at launch. I don't think there are maybe as many maps as I would like, but the maps that are there, for the most part, I think are really damn good. Bazaar and Livefire are a bit meh, but the rest of them I really like. Aquarius feels like to midship what, for example, Guardian was to Lockout in Halo 3, like a spiritual successor, older brother of it. It feels like it takes the core elements of what made midship so great, but puts a unique spin on it. Unlike Truth in Halo 5, that was just like midship but a big team battle map, Aquarius feels different enough to feel like a unique map, but similar enough to the point where you kind of get a bit of nostalgia for midship whilst you're playing it, but it still feels new. But then, for me, honestly, the standout maps are Launch Site and Behemoth. Having 4v4 vehicle maps back that are slightly larger than the regular arena maps is such a breath of fresh air, and I think really helps make the game feel more casual and social when you want it to feel that way. When every single map is a really tightly controlled 4v4 arena that's designed specifically for competitive, it just gets so tiring playing arena, but when you've got these maps kind of interspersed in there, it feels so refreshing, going from playing Oddball on Recharge to then playing, I don't know, Team Slayer on Behemoth and One Flag CTF on Launch Site. It really mixes up the pacing of the modes in the games that you play, and it makes the playlist that you're playing feel more varied. I really like a lot of the additions to the weapons sandbox in this game as well. The Heatwave, the Skewer, the Ravager, pre-buff, please buff it again, the Cinder Shot and the Mangler are all fantastic, but notably, I really like the ones from that list that have alt-fire modes. I'm such a big fan of the focus on alt-fire modes and weapons in this game. I mean, it basically just gives you 2 weapons for the price of 1, right? Quite literally, more bang for your buck. I really hope that future weapon additions to this game really focus in on that alt-fire mechanic, because I gotta say, as someone who is a massive Turok Evolution fanboy, seeing alt-fire modes in Halo be a prominent element of the sandbox makes me so happy. I know I've sung its praises in like 10 videos already, but I've gotta mention it again. I love the equipment in this game. The grapple and the repulsor in particular. Those two are the absolute standouts that are fantastic additions to the game. Although I will say, I really want to see more neutral equipment added, because right now, as fun as the equipment sandbox is, it does feel just like armor abilities V2. It feels less like Halo 3 equipment and more like armor abilities that just spawn on the map, which is great, but I miss things like the regenerator field, the bubble shield, the trip mine, and the grav lift, for example, that affected the enemy team as much as your own team and could have equal positive and negative effects on both sides. I miss equipment that functioned like that, because honestly, as much as I love the equipment in this game, equipment that is that flexible in both how it can be used and who can use it is just far more interesting than something that basically only affects one person. Like, again, as much as I love the grapple hook in this game, I think it's absolutely fantastic. The only person it really affects is the person using it, right? Whereas the grav lift can affect both teams equally. You throw a trip mine down, well, a friendly warthog might just drive over it. I love that level of depth and I want to see it make a return. Ranked out of the gate as well was fantastic. Having a fully fledged ranking system there with its own ranking playlist, with its own ranked settings was really good, with like different maps and everything and different game modes. It's so refreshing to have that again, because Halo 4 didn't have anything ranked. Halo 5 just had ranked. We've not had a 343 Halo game yet that launched with both, and finally getting that is so good because it just allows more ways to play the game. It allows me to go and try hard when I want to try hard, or when I want to kick back and just chill, I can just go and play Team Slayer or something and get launch site one flag CTF. It's such a nice mix, and it increases the replayability of multiplayer a lot. Although I will say one thing, this will feed more into some of the critical points that I have later on, but I really don't like how in Halo Infinite, ranked is just equated to HCS settings. I'm a massive competitive Halo fan, right? Don't get me wrong, but ranked playlists shouldn't just have competitive settings. The two are very different. And then, of course, the other major part of multiplayer in this game is Big Team Battle, the return of Big Team Battle, and boy, what a return it is. For the most part, I really love BTV in this game. It's not too big to the point where it's like Battlefield 2042 and you can't find anybody on the maps, but the increased player size is a nice addition. I always wanted more than 12v12, but honestly, now that I've played a lot of this, I think the flow and the pacing is really good. I would be kind of worried now if they tried to make it like 24v24 or something. I feel like it could get a bit too messy. So the amount of players in the game is really good. I don't think there are as many maps as there should be, but I will say the maps that are there, Deadlock, High Power, and Fragmentation, are all fantastic. Still, now, a month later, I'm enjoying them as much as I was on day one, which is a great thing. Something that's unique to this game is the kind of objective highlight things on the BTB map. So, for example, the massive AA gun on Deadlock when you capture the flag, or the beam towers that fire when you put the power seeds in on Fragmentation. There's such nice little additions to the map to make them feel more kind of immersive. Although, I will say one thing, it does slightly concern me that all the maps have these. I do wonder if that's gonna maybe decrease the pace at which they can release BTB maps, because if every BTB map they make has to have some big set piece on it that has a cool effect, then of course that's going to increase dev time, which could get a bit awkward. I don't want them to be a necessary thing for all the BTB maps, but I do like their addition. I mean, dude, seeing the frigate on High Power fire at that Covenant cruiser will never get old. That is so damn cool. And then going into some of the more specific playlists that we've had since launch, Fiesta in this game is really damn fun. I've always loved Fiesta. Back in the days of Halo 3, Fiesta was my favourite double XP weekend playlist, and I still enjoy it now as much as I did back then, and thankfully, Infinite's Fiesta is a worthy successor. I really like the addition of randomised equipment and vehicles on the maps in Fiesta, which, you know, just adds a little bit of spice to it, right? Although, I will say one thing, the randomised vehicles in Fiesta do highlight how poorly the vehicles are balanced in Halo Infinite, but more on that in a minute. I've always been a fan of Oddball, but my god, Infinite's version of Oddball with rounds is easily my favourite out of all the Halo games. I feel like the rounds are long enough so that there's still tons of skill involved in forming and holding setups with your team and defending those setups from enemy pushers, but at the same time, the rounds are short enough to prevent games from getting too snowbally or from one team just holding the same setup for the entire game. It's a great change of pacing for the mode that honestly makes it feel more fast-paced but not hectic. It rewards skill still in setting up setups, but at the same time, it doesn't make it so each game is a complete blowout. I love the change of rounds. I wasn't so sure at first, but I'm happy to say that I love it now. SWAT came out the other day as well, and I will say I've never been a huge fan of SWAT, but in Infinite, I feel like SWAT really highlights just how satisfying this game's BR is. Oh my god, this is the most satisfying SWAT has been since Reach, if not Halo 3. Something that I am so happy to see the return of. I believe it's the first time since Reach, possibly Halo 4, one-sided objective modes. Granted, there's only one right now, but still, the mere fact that they're in the game make me so happy. They really shake up the matchmaking experience and force you to employ radically different playstyles compared to their two-sided moves. Like, one flag CTF on launch site feels like a true team effort mode, like your entire team have to get in the Warthog to assault it or you're not going to capture that flag. And on the other side, your entire team have to hold down the catwalk in the tower, or a Warthog is just going to sail in, take your flag and get back to base. It really plays like so much different to regular CTF, and I do want to see more modes like this, but what we have right now is definitely a great start. There's just something so classically Halo fun about loading into a Warthog on launch site and just barreling towards the enemy flag. That will never get old, ever, and this map and game mode combo is just proof of that. One really small change that I can tell has had quite a lot of thought and effort put into it is the change to the kind of vehicle point of views when you're spectating someone in a vehicle. So before it would just show the vehicle like anything, but now if you spectate somebody in a vehicle, they all have custom point of views. So for example, whenever I spectate a Scorpion, I feel like I'm watching a scene out of Fury, except Brad Pitt's a Spartan this time, which would actually be something I'd like to see. Brad Pitt as a Spartan. 343, write that down for the second season of the Halo TV show. But yeah, these custom POVs look so damn cool. I never thought I'd see the day where the death screen became immersive, but here we are. I'm here for it. Going back to the topic of movement, something that I really like in this game and something that I really hope 343 don't patch out are the various movement text, the kind of glitches and techniques and mechanics that you can intertwine with the game's standard movement to pull off cool jumps and to get increased speed and momentum. Like, for example, jumping and sliding down ramps and then jumping out of it gives you increased momentum. I love this kind of stuff. It reminds me of Halo 2's button combos in a way where it's not an official mechanic, but it just increases the skill ceiling without completely damaging social and casual gameplay. If you want to learn more about these, highly recommend checking out Shyway's channel. The guy is an absolute machine for this kind of content. If you want to go learn some cool movement text that people are finding out in Infinite, because trust me, there are new ones getting found out like every day at this point, go and check his channel out. Highly recommend it. And the final positive is that they've improved some of the real glaring issues of the game recently. 343 have actually, for a lot of the issues of this game, been quite on the ball with fixing them. Playlist and progression, for example. Those two things recently got pretty big overhauls, and they're far from perfect, but they're definitely moving in the right direction. In fact, only last night, 343 updated the 10 Right Battle Pass, which is that event season thing, to include more armor and fewer challenge swaps and XP boosts, which is definitely a great start. That's building directly on community feedback, and it's great to see. They also said that they're looking at reviewing the bundles and the overall value of the store, and they're also looking at changes to free and paid customization to make it more rewarding, along with looking at cross-core customization, emblems, and coatings. So 343 are definitely listening to feedback. I mean, we all know that they do anyway, but this is just proof that they are listening and acting on it. So keep up the constructive feedback, emphasis on constructive, and I guarantee this game will just continue to improve. Okay, so let's talk about the sponsor of today's video, NordVPN. Let's face it, in this day and age, we all practically live on the internet, whether we're gaming, or working, or rewatching the Halo Infinite Legendary ending for the 747,000th time, because we still can't comprehend the fact that offensive bias was quite literally mentioned in a game. Oh wait, sorry, was that just me? Okay, anyway, regardless, in this always online age, you need protection, which is where Nord comes in. NordVPN allows you to game securely, avoiding DDoS attacks, securing browser traffic without affecting latency, and blocking malware-ridden websites. Think of it like your own personal sentinel in flood-infested lands. NordVPN also allows you to change your virtual location, allowing you to make the most of region-locked discounts and other region-exclusive items. And with over 5,100 servers in 60 different countries, you can browse the web from pretty much anywhere. Besides Zeta Halo, I think we're about 500 years away from that server existing. So, if the sound of your own personal sentinel for surfing the flood-infested web sounds good, then just head on over to nordvpn.com/hiddenx to get a 2-year plan plus 1 additional month with a huge discount, and avoid the logic plague today. Thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring the video, and let's get back to the multiplayer review. Right then, let's move over to the critical side of this review, and I'm going to be honest, it's going to be longer than the positive side, because as much as there is that I love about this game's multiplayer, there are so many things that just dampen the experience for me and really harm what is otherwise a fantastic game. So, one of the most hilarious things in this game is that 343 have managed to absolutely nail the hardest things. Gameplay is fantastic. For the most part, the maps are fantastic. The modes that are there are all fantastic. I mean, hell, like I said, they've managed to settle the sprint debate. That alone blows my mind. I mean, getting the community to almost unanimously agree that the current iteration of Sprint is correct is like as impossible as getting hell to freeze over. They managed to do that. And then they fumble the bag on the easy stuff, the stuff that the community are almost unanimously agreed upon, like progression and unlocks and playlists, for example. I'm not going to focus on this for too long in this video because I've already made one, if not two, dedicated videos about it, but I do need to bring it up because it's such a big issue. The monetization in this game just taints so many facets of it. For example, the customization is incredible until you factor in how the armor itself is actually unlocked. There's no progression system, which really hurts replayability. The coating system is an objective downgrade from all the previous game's color customization options, regardless of what they said before launch. Battle Pass progression is painfully slow. And then the Battle Pass itself is basically pointless because even though it's called the Heroes of Reach Battle Pass, most of the Reach armor is not even in it. You gotta buy it separately in the store. The challenge system is awful, and even though it's had some additions recently that were great, the selection of playlists is still pretty bad as well. I mean, compared to previous games at launch, Halo 4, Reach and Halo 3, it's nowhere near as good. And I really feel like the monetization is to blame for so many of those things that I just listed. I actually can't put into words how much all of this stuff has just sullied my enjoyment of multiplayer, of an otherwise great multiplayer. I mean, it sounds sad, but I don't really want to play it anymore, at least until these things are fixed. I don't feel any need to get on and play it. As harsh as it sounds, I honestly feel like these things have kind of, in the short term, ruined this game's multiplayer for me. I don't feel satisfied or rewarded playing the game at all. And I know you get some people nowadays saying like, oh, what happened to playing games just because we enjoy them? And like, yeah, that's a thing, but ever since 2007, right, the two games that pioneered this, Halo 3 and COD 4, the two games that pioneered progression and rewarding players for spending time with their games, those two games had fantastic systems that totally revolutionized multiplayer games. And ever since then, almost every game under the sun has had some form of like dopamine hitting reward system, like a progression system or ranks or something, and Halo Infinite just doesn't have that, and I just don't feel like I'm getting anything for playing it. Honestly, thank God this game's campaign is so good and has so much replayability, because man, if it didn't, I probably wouldn't even be playing Infinite right now. In fact, you know what I'll be doing? I'll be grinding 99 mining on RuneScape, and let me tell you, that is not a fun grind. It's not a fun grind at all. Okay, so moving over to some general features. I really want a pre-game and post-game lobby system in this game while the map loads that has a veto system in it, so you can veto the map and game type combo, and that shows players in the lobby, shows their Spartans, their ranks, and their battle pass tiers, and also, when they eventually add it, their progression ranks as well, and also displays what map and mode you're going to be playing. That way, it allows you to see if it's worth enabling a boost. So, for example, if you've got a CTF challenge you want to do, and you see that you're loading into a CTF game, you can be like, oh, I can enable a boost now. Or if you're loading into a Team Slayer game, you'd be like, nah, I'm not going to waste one. It gives you options. And then also being able to see other people's like Spartan ID and their Spartans and their ranks just adds to the social experience of the game, browse their file share in the lobby. So many of those features that I feel like were just lost and forgotten about from previous games, I really hope to see make a return in this game, because I think it would definitely help out with the overall matchmaking experience. I do find it funny how, in that regard, we're still playing catch-up to Halo 3 and Halo Reach, and in some regard Halo 4 as well. It's quite amazing, in fact. And also, kind of on the same note, I really want this game to get a service record. I mean, granted, we don't really have much to show off in the multiplayer because there's no progression system or anything, but just some way to show off your achievements in the game to other people would be great. I've already mentioned this in a video, but I'm going to mention it again here. The armor core system is genuinely terrible. Locking stuff to armor cores is an awful decision. They need to be opened up ASAP, but like I said earlier, 343 are addressing that, so fingers crossed they do open them up soon. One of the really sad things about this multiplayer is the number of missing modes. I mean, the one thing that I can't fathom still is how, after Halo 5, we can have another game where we don't launch with infection. How are we launching with that infection for the second time? And even worse, right, we don't even have any slight indication from 343 as to when we might even hear anything about infection. As far as I'm aware, they've not even mentioned it yet, and so there's not even like a rough roadmap as to when we're going to be getting it. I mean, no infection again. Other gamers like King of the Hill and the extra stuff like Regicide and Extraction, for example, I understand a little bit, but infection, come on. I know I mentioned earlier how much I love the fact that both social and ranked are in this game at launch, but I'm gonna be honest, social in this game, at times at least, feels more ranked than ranked does. I mean, if you want to sweat and try hard, that's what ranked's for. Social isn't meant to be for that. Social is meant to be for just chilling out and not really caring if you win or lose. Ranked is meant to be for grinding for wins and to get your rank and increase your skill, right? That's not what social is meant to be. And on the topic of ranked, it definitely does have some issues. First off, it needs a rejoin feature, because Infinite isn't the most stable game. It doesn't crash that much, but I've had a fair few crashes, especially recently, and crashing out of a ranked game and losing CSR because of it is not an enjoyable experience. Almost every other competitive game on the market has a rejoin feature, for ranked modes in particular. Infinite needs one. And like I said earlier as well, ranked needs to be split off from competitive settings. Ranked does not equal competitive. Competitive is a facet of ranked, but ranked isn't competitive. And that extends to a major issue that I have with this game. Again, ranked shouldn't be a playlist. Ranked should be a collection of various playlists. Again, Halo 3 did this best. I can't believe games aren't getting it right after Halo 3 nailed it so well. One group of ranked, one group of social. Please do that. The team balancing in ranked as well needs some serious work. I mean, I've had so many games recently. I'm like Diamond 4 or Diamond 5, and I've had games where my team is like Diamond, Plat, and Gold, and then the enemy team is like Onyx, Diamond, Diamond. The balancing just seems completely off, and I don't know what's going on with it, if it's bugged or something, but it needs to be looked at, I think. Theater and custom games in this game are both pretty much unusable. The game crashes so many times when you're trying to join a game in progress in customs. When you're starting a game of customs, the team is just randomized, so you have to restart the game. There's no way to select which kind of map you want to play on, so say you want to play the variant of Behemoth in customs that has the Banshee, well, tough, you might just get the chopper version, you've got no way to decide. And then Theater, again, I showed this off in the video the other day, but Theater in this game is terrible. Again, I can't believe that's the case again after Halo 5, but Theater needs to be looked at, and it needs to be fixed. The weapon sandbox in this game, I prefer to Halo 4 and Halo 5. I do like their approach of cutting a lot of the fat out of the sandbox and taking out a load of redundant weapons that overlap with other weapons. Like, for example, in Halo 5, we had the DMR, the Carbine, the BR, and the Light Rifle, all of which overlapped each other. I'm happy they've trimmed that fat, but I do feel like they've maybe trimmed the fat a little bit too much. I mean, there are some weapons that I really am missing right now. The Plasma Rifle, the Fuel Rod Gun, the Grenade Launcher, the Brute Shot. I can't believe the Brute Shot's not in this game when you bring the Brutes back for the first time in like 10 years, and there's no Brute Shot. What's going on there? However, I will say I'm assuming a lot of these weapons will end up coming back somewhere down the line as a part of the live service system, so it's not like an old game where they're not in the game at launch, they'll never be there. I guarantee you every single weapon that I just listed off and more will be in the game at some point in the next year or so, so I guess it's not the end of the world. In terms of balance, there's only really one thing that I think is overpowered, and they're the shock grenades, the dynamo grenades. They are literally just pocketable power drains that you can throw two of and that do damage to health as well as shields. All those things should do is drain shields and not touch health. The fact that they can actually kill people with the radius they've got and the damage they do is insane. They need a hard nerf. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we've got the vehicles that are not great at all. They are significantly underpowered. The way they appear in games, like in BTB, for example, I don't think I've ever seen a Wraith. I've seen like 3 Scorpions, a few Wasps, maybe like 4 or 5 Banshees. I've never seen a Wraith in BTB. Does it spawn? Does it not? I don't know. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I have no way of telling because of the randomized spawn system that maybe drops them in towards the end of the game if the game goes on long enough. Please, in BTB, I love the Pelican drops, but please just revert the vehicle spawners back to their classic versions. It was so much better. The chopper in this game feels incredibly awkward and heavy and sluggish to drive. It flips way too easily. In Halo 3 it flipped kind of easily, but I felt like there was almost a system in place to kind of revert it and flip it back up as you were driving. Infinite doesn't seem to have that. It just flips and you just get killed so easily. Infinite has also made me realize that the vehicle boarding mechanic is kind of out of date, and I really wish that they would just kind of take that mechanic back to the drawing board and completely rework it. It was fine in like Halo 2 and Halo 3 where only a few weapons or tools could EMP stuff, but in a game like Infinite where you have the shock rifle, disruptor, and shock grenades that all EMP and incredibly easily, may I add. Compared to the plasma pistol in previous games, it is so easy to EMP vehicles in this game. And then as well, you've got the grapple that, as cool as it is just an instant easy jack. the entire mechanic needs to be taken back to the drawing board because it's far too easy in this game and it makes vehicles so useless. And then in terms of health, the vehicles in this game are made out of like paper mache or something. They go down far too easily from any weapons, small arms fire in particular. All you practically have to do is breathe in the vicinity of a Banshee and that thing will go into the Doom state and you've lost it. And with how rarely they spawn, it's not fun. And on the topic of the Doom state, it's nowhere near as good as Halo 2. I do like some of the ideas they've had with it in this game, but I feel like the presentation of it in particular is just so lackluster compared. I mean, in Halo 2, if a vehicle went into the Doom state, it'd start violently shaking around with plasma spewing out of it whilst it played this really cool like overload sound effect that very audibly telegraphed that it was going to blow up. Whereas in Halo Infinite, it just has this neon red overlay and a sound that you can barely hear, and that's it. Granted though, the two Doom states do work really differently. I really like in Infinite how with the Doom state you can choose to either get out the vehicle and flee to safety, or go down with the ship and ram into an enemy and have your vehicle explode as you do it. It's a great choice, but I just think the presentation of the system isn't particularly great. I also think that the shields in this game do a terrible job at telegraphing how weak or strong someone's shields are. I can't count how many times I've seen somebody with shields that are flared up thinking, oh, this guy's like 1 or 2 shot, I'll engage them. Only to find out that they have almost full shields and they kill me. It's really inconsistent. Something else that's incredibly inconsistent in this game is the netcode, which is my final criticism for this game. The netcode in this game is so bad, it reminds me of Black Ops 1, and let me tell you, that is not a compliment. I can't tell you how many times I've either shot someone around a 90-degree corner, or been shot by somebody around a 90-degree corner, to the point where sometimes I'm genuinely confused as to whether I'm playing Halo Infinite or playing the official wanted video game. It's insane. And also the melee trading as well with this netcode is like launch Halo 3 levels of bad. The amount of times that I go into a fight and melee somebody and expect to just kill them and walk out, but get some incredibly bogus melee trade is so frustrating. So, to conclude all of these thoughts, I really feel like Halo Infinite multiplayer, as great as the core of it is just unfinished. It feels unpolished, it feels feature lacking, it just doesn't feel finished, and especially not ready to release a month early. I'm still kind of surprised they did that because it's missing so many features, so many aspects of it are buggy or just not working or incomplete. Rather confusing. I really do enjoy the core of this multiplayer. 1 flag CTF on launch site, 4v4 CTF on Aquarius, oddball on recharge. I love the core of this game, both socially and competitively, right? But there are so many of the like outlying factors that really kind of build the Halo multiplayer experience for me, like progression, like customization, that are just so lackluster and just not good in this game that it really sullies the overall experience and kind of just makes me not want to play it until they're fixed, like I said. But thankfully, I've got that beautiful campaign to play in the meantime, and 343 are on the ball at the moment with fixing stuff, and I'm assuming that when they get back from their well-deserved holiday break, the fixes will start rolling out even faster, so I am very excited for that. And I do think that what we have here with Infinite's multiplayer, although the launch hasn't been great, although right now it's not in the best state, is the best foundation for a Halo game since Halo 3, and I'm very excited, regardless of my issues with it right now, to see where this game is in 1 year, 2 year, 3 years time, because I genuinely think if 343 stick with it, or on the ball with fantastic updates, with quality of life fixes, we have something truly special on our hands here. I just hope that it doesn't take too long to kind of mature into that truly special state, because right now, it sure as hell isn't in that state. So, with all that said, that is my Halo Infinite multiplayer review. I don't really have a score for this. I've not really thought about a score. I don't particularly know what I'd give it because my thoughts are so all over the place. Gameplay is like a 9, customization and progression are like 1, so I don't know. I enjoy it, but it's not great right now. That's my score, I guess. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of this review and of your thoughts on multiplayer down below in the comments. And with that said, I'm going to round this bad boy out here. I want to give a massive thank you to Master Venom 2002 and Ironsuits for becoming new iconic ones over on Patreon. Thank you very much, my friends. I really do appreciate that. And of course, everyone else who continues to support me over there as well. Thank you all so much. And thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I'll catch you all in the next one.